The greatest lessons life will ever teach you is this: not every situation deserves your response. Not every accusation deserves your defense. Not every misunderstanding deserves your explanation. And not every person deserves your proof. See, when you are young, you think you have to explain yourself to the world. Somebody questions you and you rush to answer. Somebody doubts you and you rush to prove them wrong. Somebody criticizes you and you rush to defend your name. But what you don't realize is this: every time you do that, you are handing over your power. The mature you, the wiser you, the elevated you understand something different. Silence is power. Silence is confidence. Silence is control. Because people who truly know who they are don't feel the need to announce it. You ever notice how the loudest person in the room is usually the most insecure? And the quiet one, the calm one, the one just observing, that's the one who knows exactly who they are. That's the one who doesn't need validation. You see, when somebody attacks you with words and you respond emotionally, now you're in the mud with them. Now you're wrestling in a place you didn't belong in the first place. But when you choose silence, you rise above the noise. You force them to argue with themselves. Silence confuses people. It frustrates people. It exposes people. Because when you don't respond, they start revealing their true intentions. They start talking more. They start showing their insecurity. And you remain composed. You remain dignified. You don't have to justify your life to people who were never assigned to understand it. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the hardest disciplines you will ever learn in life is the discipline of not reacting. It sounds simple, but it is one of the greatest displays of strength a person can have, because reacting is natural. Reacting is emotional. Reacting is what your ego wants to do, but mastering silence when provoked, misunderstood, or challenged is what separates emotional maturity from emotional impulse. You see, most people believe power is in speaking loudly, defending themselves quickly, and responding immediately. They think if they don't answer back, they look weak. They think if they don't correct someone right away, they lose. But the truth is the opposite. The person who reacts quickly is the one being controlled. The person who stays calm is the one in control. When someone says something about you that is not true, your first instinct is to jump in and fix it. Your heart starts beating faster. Your mind starts racing. You start forming arguments in your head. You start preparing speeches to defend your name. And in that very moment, you have already lost your peace. Not because of what they said, but because you allowed it to move you. Silence is not weakness. Silence is restraint. Silence is a decision. Silence is you saying, I refuse to let your words dictate my emotions. And that takes a level of strength most people don't have. Anybody can react. Anybody can argue. Anybody can shout. But it takes real maturity to look at a situation and say nothing, to keep your dignity, to keep your composure, and to walk away without feeling the need to prove anything. When you respond emotionally, you enter the other person's frame. You step into their chaos. You step into their negativity. And now you are playing a game you didn't even want to be in. But when you remain silent, you stay in your own frame. You stay in control of yourself. There is a reason calm people make others uncomfortable. Because calmness exposes emotional instability. When someone is trying to provoke you and you don't react, they start feeling powerless. They start feeling frustrated. They start revealing more of their true self while you reveal nothing. And that is power. The world is full of people who want reactions. They want attention. They want drama. They want emotional responses because that is how they feel important. But when you deny them that reaction, you deny them control over you. You have to understand this. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every insult deserves your energy. Not every misunderstanding deserves clarification. Sometimes the best response is none at all. Because the moment you react, you validate the attack. You give it importance. You make it bigger than it ever needed to be. Silence shrinks situations. Reactions expand them. When you practice silence, you begin to train your mind to pause before responding. You begin to understand that your emotions do not have to control your actions. You begin to separate what you feel from what you choose to do. And that separation is where maturity lies. You don't have to prove that you are right. You don't have to show that they are wrong. You don't have to convince anybody of anything. The more you grow, the more you realize that people will believe what they want to believe anyway. So why waste your breath? Why waste your peace? Why waste your time? Silence teaches you patience. Silence teaches you self-control. Silence teaches you that you can observe without absorbing. You can hear without reacting. You can understand without engaging. And when you do this consistently, something powerful happens. People begin to see you differently. They begin to respect you differently because you are no longer easily moved. You are no longer easily triggered. You are no longer easily controlled. You become emotionally untouchable. You stop reacting to noise and start responding only to what truly matters. You begin to choose your battles wisely. And most of the time, you choose not to battle at all because you realize that peace is more valuable than winning arguments. Dignity is more valuable than being understood. And silence is more powerful than any words you could ever say. The person who masters silence masters themselves. And the person who masters themselves can never be controlled by anyone else. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest freedoms you will ever experience in your life is the moment you realize you do not owe everyone an explanation. You do not owe the world a breakdown of your choices. You do not owe people a detailed report of your decisions. And you certainly do not owe clarity to those who were never trying to understand you in the first place. Most people grow up believing they must explain themselves to be accepted. If they make a decision, they feel the need to justify it. If they change direction, they feel the need to defend it. If they say no, they feel guilty unless they provide a long reason. And without realizing it, they spend their entire lives asking permission to live the way they want to live. Every time you feel pressure to explain yourself, what you are really doing is seeking approval. You are hoping that if you give a good enough reason, people will agree with you. You are hoping that if you speak clearly enough, they will validate your choice. But here is the truth. People who want to misunderstand you will do it no matter how well you explain. You can talk for hours, and they will still hear what they want to hear. You can give the most logical reason, and they will still question it. Because their issue is not confusion. Their issue is control. Some people don't ask questions because they care. They ask questions because they want influence over your decisions. They want to feel involved in your life in a way that gives them power. And the moment you start explaining yourself, you give them that power. You start negotiating your life with people who have no responsibility for your future. When you say, "I don't need to explain this," you are not being rude. You are being self-aware. You are recognizing that your life is yours to live, not theirs to approve. There is a big difference between sharing and explaining. Sharing is voluntary. Explaining feels forced. Sharing comes from confidence. Explaining comes from insecurity. When you are confident in who you are, you don't feel the need to justify why you made a choice. You understand that not everyone will understand you, and you are at peace with that. You don't try to drag everyone into agreement with you. You let them think what they want, because their understanding is not required for your success. You see, the more you grow, the more you will make decisions that not everyone agrees with. You will take paths that don't make sense to others. You will say no to things people expect you to say yes to. You will say yes to things people expect you to avoid. And if you try to explain every one of those decisions, you will exhaust yourself. You will start living for other people's comfort instead of your own purpose. And that is a dangerous place to be. When you constantly explain yourself, you slowly train people to believe they have the right to question everything you do. They begin to expect explanations. They begin to feel entitled to your reasoning. And before you know it, you are living under constant interrogation. But when you stop explaining, something changes. People may not like it at first. They may feel confused. They may feel offended. But eventually, they adjust. They learn that you are a person who makes decisions without seeking approval, and that earns respect. Not everyone will like it, but everyone will recognize it. You must understand this clearly. Your no is a complete sentence. Your choices are valid without a supporting speech. Your life decisions do not require a committee meeting. You don't have to explain why you walked away from something that disturbed your peace. You don't have to explain why you chose a different path. You don't have to explain why you protect your time, your energy, and your mind, because the people who truly care about you will trust you, and the people who demand explanations were never trying to understand you anyway. When you stop explaining, you reclaim your time, you reclaim your mental energy, you reclaim your confidence. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head. You stop worrying about how to make your decisions sound acceptable to others. You simply live. You make choices quietly. You move confidently. You let your life speak for itself. And that is a powerful place to be. Because when you no longer feel the need to justify yourself, you start walking with a different kind of posture. You start carrying yourself with a different kind of calm. You begin to understand that your worth is not determined by how well you can explain your decisions to other people. Your worth is determined by how confidently you can stand by them without explanation. Streaming interrupted. Waiting for the complete message. Ladies and gentlemen, calm restraint is one of the rarest qualities you will ever witness in a person, and it is also one of the most powerful. Anyone can be loud. Anyone can argue. Anyone can defend themselves with emotion. But the individual who can remain composed when tested, provoked, or misunderstood is operating at a completely different level of confidence. You see, true confidence is not found in how strongly you react. It is revealed in how peacefully you remain still. When you are deeply secure in who you are, you don't feel the need to jump into every conflict. You don't feel the urge to correct every opinion. You don't feel pressure to fix every misunderstanding. You understand that your peace is more valuable than your point. Most people mistake calmness for weakness. They assume that if you are quiet, you are afraid. If you are composed, you are unsure. If you don't argue back, you have nothing to say. But what they don't realize is that calm restraint requires tremendous inner strength. It requires you to have such a strong relationship with yourself that outside noise does not shake you. When someone challenges you and you immediately react, they have control over your emotions. They can push your buttons. They can move you like a puppet. But when you remain calm, when you choose not to be pulled into the chaos, you are showing that you are not easily controlled. That is confidence in its purest form. Calm restraint is you saying, I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it under pressure. It is you understanding that not every battle is meant to be fought. Some battles are meant to be observed, understood, and walked away from without a single word. Because the more confident you become, the less you feel the need to defend your image. You realize that your character speaks louder than any argument you could ever make. When people see that they cannot disturb your peace, they begin to respect you in a different way. They may not agree with you, but they recognize your stability. They see that you are grounded. They see that you are emotionally disciplined. And emotional discipline is something most people struggle with. Restraint is difficult because your ego wants to respond. Your pride wants to step in. Your emotions want to take over. But confidence whispers something different. Confidence says, stay still. This does not deserve your energy. And when you listen to that voice, you start building a reputation for being unshakable. You become the person who cannot be easily triggered. You become the person who does not lose control in heated moments. You become the person who thinks before acting, who pauses before speaking, who breathes before responding. And that pause, that moment of restraint, is where your power lies. Because in that moment, you are choosing your behavior instead of letting your emotions choose it for you. People who lack confidence are quick to react because they feel the need to protect how they are seen. They feel threatened by opinions. They feel attacked by criticism. But a confident person understands that opinions do not define them and criticism does not diminish them. So they remain calm. They let others talk. They let others express themselves. They do not interrupt. They do not rush to defend. They observe quietly, knowing that their worth is not on trial.